at 11.
We have continuing coverage in the search for the next superintendent of Springfield Public Schools. Welcome everyone to Western Mass News 11 at 11 on this Thursday. I'm Chris Pisano. Members of the school committee, including Mayor Dominic Sarno, now reacting to a letter sent by a legal organization saying that the process should restart. Western Mass News reporter Matt Price live in studio with more on that. Matt.
Chris, we're now getting our first reactions from the Springfield School Committee as drama and division continues to be seen in this search process. Vice Chair Josiah Gonzalez saying they should start over, while Mayor Sarno is defiant and letting the process move forward. The Springfield School Committee meeting on Thursday at Putnam Vocational Academy to discuss the budget for the next academic year. However, that's not what's been on the minds of many in the school district for the last few weeks. As the search for the successor of current Superintendent Dan Warwick continues, members of the school committee, like Mayor Sarno and Vice Chair Gonzalez, have been at odds about how it's been conducted. Now, a legal organization, Lawyers for Civil Rights Boston, is calling for the committee to go back to square one.
I do agree with the call from the Lawyer for Civil Rights to halt, restart this process, and I'll stand firm on that.
This is a process that the school committee approved and voted upon. This is a process that we have followed and we will continue to follow.
In a letter sent to the school committee on Wednesday, Lawyers for Civil Rights Boston say the integrity of this process has been compromised by the absence of more meaningful and robust community and student representation on the ad hoc committee.
We are seeing how the unfolding process, instead of bringing the community together to really coalesce around exciting leadership opportunities for the school, are instead very much engaged in a divisive process that, frankly, has been flawed and botched since the beginning.
Thursday was the first day the screening committee would be able to talk to some of the 5 candidates who had the minimum qualifications for the role. This, as several people in the community, including students, have been asking for a fresh start and have student representatives on that committee. Gonzalez has also supported that push and has criticized the mayor as well.
The mayor has breached the confidentiality of that process. I encourage folks, contact the mayor's office. How does he know who the candidates are? He says it's self-disclosure. He has tainted that process, and ask him to put items on the agenda so that we can have a democratic conversation of debate and potential vote.
Mayor Sarno, however, responding, criticizing an outside organization for trying to step in.
It bothers me a bit that Boston attorneys are going to tell us how to run our Springfield Public School District. So we base our decisions on the facts. People are entitled to their opinion, but it's a terrible opinion when you have some school committee members that want to lower the minimal qualifications in which they set up to look at everyone that applied.
Now, it's unclear if Mayor Sarno is willing to meet with LCR about these claims. He also talked about how he says both the school committee and the ad hoc committee worked hard to try to get at least one student on the screening committee. As of right now, though, the process continues as planned, with the mayor wanting the best person for the job from either near or far. The school committee is hoping to make a final decision at the end of May. Reporting live in the studio, Matt Price, Western Mass News.
All right, Matt, thank you for that live report. We have continuing